On News Radio 1000 KTOK. Joining us now from Washington is our good Senator James Lankford. And I'm glad that your son is doing well, your son David.
There's only a few of us that would get that joke that follow you well. By the way, two corrections of the morning. One is I'm phoning in from Oklahoma and I'm glad to be home this week. Out and about all week. I was in Ponca City all day yesterday and in Norman all day today. But I do not have a son, David.
No,
I did enjoy watching your hallucinations coming out of anesthesia the other day.
I thank you for being a good sport about it, too, because lovely wife couldn't resist but get it on film. So that's why the whole thing was filmed anyway. She knew I would have wanted it filmed. And so she grabbed the camera as I was coming out of that and said, "Who are you interviewing? Who are you interviewing?" "Oh, interviewing James Lankford and his son, David." Well, you don't have a son, David. But
that's correct.
Your lovely daughters, by the way, are growing like weeds.
They are, actually. Yeah. They are, and I get to enjoy the job of keeping boys away from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this thing that broke day before yesterday, you've had a lot to say about. I thought giving money to people who hate us, Senator, I thought that was illegal back from the Reagan administration.
It is, actually, and what the Obama administration did, what all of us knew months ago when this happened, is when the 4 prisoners were released, they sent $400 million in cash to them that landed the same day the prisoners took off. The Obama administration and Secretary Kerry says that's purely coincidence that we dropped $400 million on them and they released them. It begs all credibility to say that. They said it was 2 different teams negotiating 2 different times. Now, Iran, in their official statements, Iran has said, of course, the 2 are connected and that we wanted to be able to see the money and be able to know that this happened before we released any prisoners. So Iran is being very clear and was clear from the beginning. But what happened was they sent $400 million in cash to them. They put it through Swiss banks and through central banks in Europe and then sent it on over in an unmarked cargo plane to be able to land in Iran as our prisoners are being released. The reason why that's a big deal is a couple of things. One, it is a U.S. policy not to give cash payments and not to pay ransom for these individuals because it encourages every country in the Middle East, and I can assure you that Iran, to do this again. 2, it gives Iran this position to say, we beat the United States. And so they brag all over the Middle East, and it raises their position and diminishes everyone else. Already in that deal, we know that we gave 7 Iranian prisoners for 4 Americans, and now we also know it's $400 million. The hard part about it, and is painful to say, is that is not all of the money that's going to Iran from the American taxpayer. Iran got $1.7 billion in that time. We only know the first $400 million, how it was transferred. I've tried to push to get transparency on the rest of the $1.3 billion that the United States sent to Iran that, by the way, Iran announced within months that they increased their defense spending $1.7 billion and made a public announcement and connected the two. The American taxpayers, while the president is trying to cut United States military spending, is directly increasing Iranian military spending.
And again, is there going to be any investigation into this or
Absolutely. It has already begun. In fact, I started a couple of months ago in this process, and we saw the first seeds of it. I dropped a bill to be able to force the transparency. We'll continue to press on this. Now, obviously, the administration is going to try to run the clock out, but this has long-lasting effects. When you put $1.7 billion into the Iranian military directly from the American taxpayer, and when we start paying for hostages, this just breaks the dam of all the issues that we have worldwide with countries that are rogue countries that want to be able to just take American hostages and say, now America pays ransom, we want a piece of that.
Well, and we can no longer say we don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't negotiate with countries who hold us hostage, because we do.
That is correct. The Director of National Intelligence, Jim Clapper, I asked him several months ago, has anything changed as far as Iran being the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world since the Iran nuclear deal? Director Clapper directly told me publicly nothing has changed in Iran as far as their directions towards terrorism. Still funding Hezbollah, still funding the coup in Yemen, still trying to fund a coup in Bahrain, still funding all of the work that's happening in Syria along with Russia. They're doing the exact same things they've always done. We're just funding them now.
Senator James Lankford on News Radio 1000 KTOK. So you've introduced this legislation. How far has it gone?
I have myself and one other co-sponsor that we have pressed this out. I can tell you it hasn't gotten a lot of attention until yesterday, and now we've had a lot of folks contact us and say we want to help push this.
Good.
We have pushed out. I serve on the Intelligence Committee. I've been able to see it. We'll continue to press this, and I think we'll get more traction.
I think you will too, and I'm also interested to see. Again, the Reagan administration. I don't know how old you were in the Reagan administration. I was still in high school, and he almost lost his presidency over very similar behavior. So I can't see this. I can't see this stopping here. I really can't.
No, and I think the Obama administration is going to try to run out the clock. The other issue that they have is that you can't send American dollars there, and so they basically laundered American money through European banks and sent them. But then it asked the questions, can the European banks then transfer dollars over to Iran?
Right.
Was this a whole swap that was going on between the two? And we want to get the facts on that.
Exactly. All right. Senator Lankford, thanks for joining us on News Radio 1000 KTOK. We'll keep up with that legislation as it makes its way through the system.